We are going to divide polynomials, and I'd like you to think of long division strategies when we're doing this. We are actually going to put a polynomial in as the dividend. We'll have polynomials as the divisor, and our end result, our quotient, will also be a polynomial. The steps, just like in long division, first you're going to have to arrange the polynomial in standard form. You're going to use coefficients of 0 to hold places. So think about this as lining up the digits in the correct places. The second step is we're going to have the first term of the quotient. That's going to be the result of dividing the first term of the dividend by the first term of the divisor. Next, we're going to multiply, and we're going to multiply the term of the quotient by the entire divisor, and we're going to write it underneath the dividend. This is going to allow us to do the next step, which is subtract. Once we've subtracted, we're going to bring down the next term of the dividend, and we're going to repeat the process. And we're going to repeat those steps until there is a remainder of 0 or the remainder is of a lower degree than the divisor. Okay, what does all this mean? Let's start out with simply dividing a polynomial by a monomial. The first way that we can do this, there's a couple ways to divide by a monomial. The first way, we're not going to think long-term, long division terms, but we're going to think about simplifying 3 different rational expressions. Because I can rewrite this division problem as 5x cubed over 5x squared minus 10x squared over 5x squared plus 20x over 5x squared. And I can do that because each of those terms of the polynomial has to be divided through by the monomial 5x squared. So now I have 3 terms. They're all 3 rational expressions that we've already learned how to simplify. So 5 divided by 5 leaves us with 1. X cubed divided by x squared leaves me with an x. Minus 10 divided by 5 is 2. X squared divided by x squared is 1. So x minus 2 plus, we have 20x over 5x squared. 20 can be divided by 5. That leaves me with 4. And here, x divided by x to the second leaves me with an x in the denominator. Another way to look at the same problem is to think long division, and then we'll simplify the remainder. So we have a dividend of 5x cubed minus 10x squared plus 20x, and then I have 5x squared as my divisor. We're supposed to start our quotient by multiplying or dividing the first term of the dividend by the first term of the divisor. So 5x squared can go into 5x cubed 1 time and by 1 times x. So now we multiply our first term of our quotient by the divisor. 1x times 5x squared is 5x cubed. The next step in our process, after we've written that down below the dividend is to subtract. So 5x cubed minus 5x cubed is 0. And then we bring down our next term, minus 10x squared. So then we look at the negative 10x squared. How many times does 5x squared go into negative 10x squared? It goes in minus 2 times. Minus 2 times 5x squared is minus 10x squared. So we subtract, we get 0, and then we bring down our next term, which is 20x. Five x squared cannot go into 20x evenly, so this becomes our, and it has a lower degree than the divisor, so that becomes our remainder. So we have x minus 2 plus the remainder of 20x over 5x squared. Well, this remainder isn't in simplest form, so we can rewrite our answer as x minus 2 plus 20 divided by 5 is 4, x over x squared leaves us with an x in the denominator. So you see we get the exact same answer. We just got it by looking at it in long division terms. The next few examples we have to use long division. In this example we have a polynomial divided by a binomial, and we are going to end up getting a remainder of 0. So what does that look like? If I place my dividend, 2x squared minus 19x plus 24, and then my divisor, x minus 8. Now I'm going to ask the question, how many times does x go into 2x squared? Well, it goes in 2x times. So 2x times x is 2x squared. We write that underneath. We subtract. I first have to multiply, by the minus 8. So first we multiply by the x, then by minus 8. 2x times minus 8 is minus 16x. So now we've written that underneath the dividend, and we will subtract the entire polynomial here. 2x squared minus 2x squared is 0. Minus 19x minus a minus, that's like a plus, okay? So if we add the opposites, negative 19x plus 16x leaves me with a negative 3x. Now I bring down my next term, plus 24. Now I'm going to start the process again. How many times does x go into negative 3x? Well, that's going to go in minus 3 times. So now if I take the minus 3 and I multiply it by x, I get minus 3x, and multiply the negative 3 times the negative 8. Negative times a negative is a positive 24. I write that underneath my dividend, and then I subtract. Minus a minus, change the opposites, so we end up with a remainder of 0. And our final answer then is 2x minus 3. 2x minus 3 is my quotient. Our next example, we're going to actually need to rewrite it, and because we're not in standard form as far as the dividend goes. And then we're going to have to find a remainder on this one. So let's rewrite negative 21x minus 20 plus 9x squared in standard form. And that looks like 9x squared minus 21x minus 20. And that is being divided by, I'm going to rewrite the divisor actually in standard form, x minus 1. Okay. So I'm going to ask myself, how many times does x go into 9x squared? Well, 9 times, and x times x would be x squared. So we're going to try 9x. 9x times x is 9x squared. So that's going to get rid of that first term. Then we're going to say 9x times minus 1 is minus a 9x. Now remember, we're subtracting the entire term underneath here, or the entire expression. 9x squared minus 9x squared is 0. Negative 21x minus a minus, so that's like add the opposites. Negative 21x plus 9x is a negative 12x. And then we bring down our next term, minus 20. So my next part of my quotient will be minus 12. We're going to multiply the minus 12 times the x, minus 12x, and so minus 12 times a negative 1 is plus 12. And so if we subtract, we get add the opposites, negative 12x and positive 12x, that is 0. But then we have a negative 20 and a negative 12, so that's a negative 32. Okay, x cannot go into minus 32, so now we're at the part where we are going to have our remainder. So our final answer becomes 9x minus 12 minus 32 all over x minus 1.